Welcome to another episode of the Are You Mad at Me podcast. I'm Vickie Morgan.
And I'm Josh Morgan.
Your computer's really loud today. What's that about?
It's struggling. I don't think the microphones are going to pick it up. I think we're good.
You get a whole lot of stuff running there. You're doing a bunch of different projects at the same time.
Yeah, sure.
Well, welcome back to a new episode. Thanks for coming back. Episode this is a dozen now, isn't it?
This is 11.
Oh, is it? I thought it was 11 last week.
Should I double check? I think last week was 10. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever you're looking at on your phone or your device right now, you'll know.
So we're going to, just to save a little bit on editing, because the crew went on strike and they're demanding...
We had an all-American crew and they are being boycotted.
Yeah, they put a tariff on their services.
All of our editors and camera people are American.
They are.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
But actually, what's going on? It is very late in the week, and just to cut down on some editing time. Yeah, I'm just going to write down the chapter times because that's one of the things that happens on Apple and Spotify is that the chapters are there, so you can actually jump ahead if there's a section that you are looking forward to. Like maybe you look forward to the Vickie Loves Nate section or the Are You Mad at Me stories. I don't know.
I just realized a flaw in the plan.
What's that?
You don't know what time it is in the episode because it hasn't been edited yet.
So don't edit it. Why do you waste time editing? Why would you cut out any of this? This is gold.
Also, you can't see a clock.
Do you have a timer on your... Oh, yeah. Look, it'll be generally speaking around the 10-minute mark. That's when Vickie started talking about... I don't know. God only knows what she's going to ramble. But how about we talk about my hat? Paying a little homage tonight to today, whatever time you're listening. I don't know what your life is.
At this time...
We are up to the end of the first part of season 5 of Yellowstone, and I am upset.
So we knew that there was only 5 seasons, and I had read something the other day that said that season 5 was released in 2 parts, but I immediately stopped reading because I didn't want any spoilers.
Yes, because he gets in trouble.
So
when he reads ahead,
that doesn't matter.
And then he'll
nobody needs to hear about this.
When something happens in a show,
this is important.
It is though. When something happens in a show that we're watching,
what's the topic for right now?
And Josh will say things like, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen," or "Oh, I was waiting for that guy to die," or whatever. I'm like, "What? How did you know that?" And he'll go, "Oh, I looked on IMDb and." It says right on there that this person was only on there for 17 episodes and there's 97. So this has been a thing that, an Are You Mad at Me moment in our relationship.
Help that I'm a very good sleuth.
Sometimes when we're having, I don't know, like an argument, Josh will run to Google.
It happened once 17 years ago.
Oh, that's not true. Google is basically the other woman in our life where he runs off to Google to prove. And he's always right. I don't know why he bothers. It's just like, well, look, honey, Google says so also. And it's like, oh, well, then I can't argue with Google because, But
so
anyway,
we knew that the season 5 of Yellowstone had 2 parts. and we didn't think, because we got to episode 8 or 7 or something, and it was like the app that we were using to watch the show just
stopped.
Just didn't give us another episode. We were like, wait, what? And so we don't have the second half available. I'm getting dangerously close to revealing how we watch some of our TV we pirate them to watch how we watch. So we have to get the second half of season 5 from we have to pay for it from Paramount.
Can we do that? I would happily pay. This is how they get you. This is how they get you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to know what's going on. But I will say, much like Joey Tribbiani putting a book in the freezer, at this point, everybody in the Dutton family is doing okay. So maybe we should just leave it right where it is, and I don't have to have any...
No, you're spoiling stuff for other people. Somebody's going to be like, I know it's season 5. Everybody's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's true. That is going to ruin a whole... They might die. I don't know. Who knows?
Lots of people are dead.
There's a lot.
Lots of people are alive.
What a great show. So anyway, this hat, I got to say... Big fan of Beth Dutton. I'm going to take it off now because it probably looks really silly. But it doesn't
look silly. It looks very cool. Your face is in shade.
I'm going to lay this on the chair. So whoever wants to imagine that they're sitting here with us in the extra seat today, you can wear the hat if you want to. It's up for grabs. But anyway, big fan of Beth Dutton. I don't know how things end for her, but I can't imagine it's bad.
All right. Brief technical difficulties. We are back. Camera's rolling, and we're good to go.
I think the things in the ether were like, can you guys stop talking about pirating shows?
Nobody pirates shows.
No.
That's not happening. Anyway. Yes, we're watching Yellowstone, and we're very excited for the end of season 5, which is the end of the show. So.
Yeah, big fan of Beth Dutton. I have to say she's influencing how I'm interacting with people.
How you're carrying yourself?
The last couple of weeks, yeah. I feel like her approach to life is... pretty cool, and got into a little bit of a bar fight on Friday. I have some good news. It's a good story. It's a really good story.
It was a bar kerfuffle.
Call it whatever you want. So yeah, we were out on Friday. And so the moral of the story is a number of years ago, how long ago? Joe would be 12 this February. So right after we lost Joe, I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I think have been doing, I mean, it's been 12 years. People react to that in different ways, and they go through different courses of therapy. Some people don't get any help at all. And I think it has some bad potential there. But I went to a lot of therapy. I've done a lot of work and have been doing really, really well. And so I want to share this story only for the detail that I would have, if you had told me a few years ago that thing that happened on Friday would happen and I would function afterwards, I would have said, I don't think so. It's not possible. So I've kind of gone around in a fog for the last few years, afraid that something might happen, like a regular life thing, and I would shut down and not be able to function and just regress and all those things. But the good news is, stayed present. It worked out. We were attacked.
There was a drug-induced individual at the establishment where we were at.
Yeah,
who
had a psychotic break and attacked us, and didn't have to do a whole lot. A lot of our friends came to pitch in, and the person was removed. And it was I'm glossing over the scary parts because it's not necessary. But what I do want to share is we came home, we were safe. The threat was, not eliminated.
Nobody was eliminated.
We didn't take him to the train station or anything, but it was resolved. Not resolved, but it was what's the word? What's that word when you neutralize? It was neutralized, and everything. So came home, got a shower. Josh made me some soup, like actual soup from scratch at 3 a.m. Talked, journaled, meditated, got some sleep, like actually got a good night's sleep. Took care of ourselves, like spent the next day, talking to some friends, doing the thing, like doing self-care. And someone said to me, you sound like you're doing really well. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, I have an open mic. I have to host an open mic on Sunday. So
2 days later,
I have no other choice. And I was like, well, actually, no, I do have a choice. Very much so. But what I realized was, instead of dissociating, I stayed present. I knew everything that was going on around me. I was aware of my surroundings, stayed present, got home and did the self-care, like, got rid of the threat, assessed the situation, figured out what was best for me and for you, and we removed ourselves and got to safety and took care of afterwards. Like, I think I'm still recovering from it, but I think that's really good news for people with PTSD. I mean, I would want to hear that story. Yeah. As someone who has been diagnosed with PTSD, it was nice to know. I mean, I wish it hadn't happened at all, obviously, but it was nice to know that that it is possible for your coping and for your trauma response to actually, like, you can learn the techniques, and you can. It doesn't need to be a devastating curl you up in a ball for months at a time thing, and I'm very proud of it. And so then leading that into there's hope, but do the work, do the friggin' work, take care of yourself. After a diagnosis like that, do the work. You're worth it, because the rest of your life can be miserable, or you can actually, you can get some help. It's not a life sentence. It's not a death sentence to be diagnosed like that. And I just wanted to share that, because that was an experience. That was a blip. That was a blip that was a hiccup, and it was a big hiccup, and it was, could have been a hell of a lot worse. And I know my reaction could have been a lot worse to it. And the fact that I was able to, with your support and help, and with the kids' love and support, I was surrounded, I was safe, and it was really great to experience that part of it.
To get to the other side of it.
And we're living the other side of it. This is just how things are. So anyway, we had an event on Sunday that I also want to talk about.
So 2 days later, we had an event that you got to, and it went awesome.
So next section, how far are we into the podcast?
I don't know, 10 minutes.
Okay, so about at the 10-minute mark, we're going to talk about the new youth open mic that we're doing at Broderick's Pub downtown.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite place. It's so nice. There was a place down on Water Street before. It was a little bit smaller. And
Broderick's had a different location.
Yep, yeah. They were on Water Street, and they shut down, I think, around New Year's a couple of years ago, and they rebuilt. and opened up again about 1.5 years ago. Is it a year? Is this the first year of it? Anyway.
No, I think it's been 2 years, right?
Has it been already?
It has to be. Yeah, we'll find out.
Anyway,
we'll figure that one out.
So Broderick's Pub, we started doing an open mic for young performers, and it was amazing.
It was super fun.
It was so great.
Yeah.
Packed house. We had a kid who had never performed ever before. Get up, and he's dropping a new single. He's got a new single coming out, and he came down. So a lot of musicians record. And there's other people who grow up performing, or cut their teeth performing. And so by the time people do have different paths, right? Yeah. So some people start out in a recording studio and then they do shows, and some people do it in the opposite way, where they're doing a lot of shows and then they start recording albums. And this guy, in the same week, did his first performance and is dropping a single next week. So it was pretty fantastic. We discovered we had a fun little. It was a fun time. We had some of our cousins came out, and their family was there. Henry and Peter were there with us, and it was a great.
It was
early in the evening. Yep, lots of musicians. It was early in the evening, because we don't want to be out too late on George Street for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. And so it's 5 to 7 at Broderick's, and so if you're ever in St. John's, come check that out. We're going to be there every Sunday doing that. It was really fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was really great, and the since it was a young performers open mic, there were families the kids that came out and performed. For the most part, their parents were there, their friend, there was those groups, it was a whole bunch of people that came out to support so it was really great. Very much family friendly environment, and it was really great. Yeah. Food was great. I'd say the host did a pretty good job. The host was fantastic. Vickie hosted it, and we got lots of good pictures and put them on Facebook. And Josh took care of all the tech stuff. And shout out to Kevin Evans. Kevin showed you how to use the soundboard, and you were off to the races, man. It was awesome. Yeah, it was really great. Really good sound system, and it really helps, especially when you're starting out, to be able to perform in a place where the sound is good. Yeah. And you sound as good as you possibly can. It's funny because we bought a PA a few years ago for ourselves to in case we wanted to perform somewhere, to have a PA, and that's great and all, but when you're performing and you have your own PA, it's it's pretty difficult to do your own sound while you're on stage playing. So you're leaning back and you're bringing the levels up or down, or you can't really hear what the audience hears because you're on stage. And so the times that we've played where it's been professional audio, people doing the audio for us and stuff, has been really nice. So last night was... You got to do that. Was good because I got to do the sound, and it's a really new board too. So learning, and it's a new skill. Super fancy. So we're also starting coming up on the 12th of February. So every Sunday we're going to be doing the open mic for young performers, and that is a new Facebook page. You can join that if you'd like to get on and play, or if you. And what's the Facebook page? Open mic for young performers. Yeah. And starting on February 12th, we're going to start doing some songwriter circles at Broderick's, and that's going to be some of our best pals in the music business, in the music world. Those are really fun too. Who are going to join me? I love those. Yeah. My attention span actually doesn't lend itself very often to new music. I like to be able to sing along with stuff when I'm hearing something new. So it's funny, before I started writing music, if I was listening to a band and they'd say, this is when we wrote ourselves, that's when I'd check out and go to the washroom. Yeah. Oh, I'd go to the bar and get a drink, or I had no interest in listening to new music, when I was out, having a good time. But the one exception is songwriter circles, when people are telling the stories behind the songs and then you get to hear the song afterwards. That I love. It's funny. I've seen songwriter circles, clips and stuff on the internet, on YouTube, of songwriters we like that have done them. I don't think I've ever been to a songwriter circle event. Oh, really? Live. Oh, it's beautiful. Be fun. It's beautiful. Yeah. And so I'm going to give some advice then to any musicians that are just starting out. So I regret that I didn't enjoy music, but I think what was missing is, if you're going to play a new song, tell us why you wrote it. Share the story. If you're going to share and be vulnerable, give us the whole package and tell us what the song's about. If it's that way, the audience is kind of a part of it. Well, if someone were to get up and say, this is about my ex-girlfriend, my ears would be perked up. I'd want to know what they're talking about. So, but if you just, break into, our last kiss was our I don't care. But I want to know the stories, and then I care. That's the thing about sharing, is then I care. I become part of that story, and I'm right there with you, and I'm cheering you on, going, yeah, let's, whatever. So, or whatever it's about. If you fell in love, you're like, oh, I'm going to go buy you some chocolates so you guys can, I don't know, have a date or whatever. I feel like I'm a part of the story when somebody shares. So I like that a lot. And so that's what we're starting on the 12th. On the 12th of February, we have Oh, I know this. Jared Waterman, Randy Crane, and Larry Brezzo are going to join us, and those are all absolutely fantastic musicians and storytellers. That one's going to be a blast. And then on the 26th, we have Kels Arsenault, Gary Smith, and Zelia.
Yeah?
Yep, we got Zelia. Zelia is amazing.
You've been working pretty hard this week booking people.
People are really enthusiastic about it, so I'm happy about that. And then that's less for me. Like, I just show up, and of course I have somebody there now. We have people doing sound anyway, but now that you know how to use the board and stuff, I think it's going to be like we're like a kind of little mobile little package where we just show up and we'll take care of the stuff and book the people. And I love songwriter circles. I'd like to take that out on the road. I'd like to post that I'm coming to Grand Falls, or I'm coming to Carbonear or Clarenville or Ottawa or Halifax or New Brunswick or St. Andrews or something like that, and just put out a post and say we're going to be in St. Andrews or St. Stephen on this date, and just put a call out for musicians and put together a songwriter really circle. I'd love to do that. I think that'd be
or youth open mic, like the kids in the area.
I think we'll do those too. But I think having those shows that we can actually take on the road is great, and I'm glad we're exploring it, which is funny. Not much happens in the winter in Newfoundland, but I'm glad that we're moving forward on those projects.
Yeah.
So it was really fun. And the musicians were so great.
So there was a really funny thing that happened at the end of the night at the youth young performers open mic last night, that it turned out one of the kids that performed, his last name was the same as somebody that you knew.
It was well, first the kids were fantastic. It was Paul Marr and this guy Joey. They just said they were bringing Joey, and I was like, okay. And then I was zoned out. Like, I was just, okay, let's make sure we get everybody in place and let's get their contact information. I was in performer mode, and so by the end of the evening when they were done, and the crowd they were featured performer. Paul was our featured performer, and he brought Joey, and the crowd was loving it. Like, actually asked for an encore.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, they really.
And
really
so
got a good
when
reaction.
I went up to thank him at the end, I was like, Joey, what was your name again? And he said, oh, Joey Moret. And I went, Moret? My dad used to play in a band with a guy, Moret. Tom Moret. And he goes, yeah, that's my grandfather. And I said, oh. And he goes, wait, was your dad in the Rogues? And I lost it. I was really blown, because I've been talking about my dad being a musician for my whole life, and it's never been. He was in a band when I was a baby, like an infant. And I've never met anybody that knew. And
that's when he stopped playing in a band.
Yes,
when you were a baby.
When I was.
It's been a while since he was playing.
Well, that'd be 45, 46 something years ago. So it was, and I was like, no, you must mean another band. Like, maybe there was another band with the same name. And he's like, no, Dave Earle, Tom Moret, Charlie Hutchins. And I was like, wait, what? So that last night. So this isn't coming out till Wednesday. So we're recording this Monday night. I had a great conversation with my dad today. It was like, I'm gonna use it as my "Are you mad at me?" moment, because that's kind of how it started out. I didn't know what was coming. I called my dad last night and I said, "You're not going to believe this. I met Tom Moret's grandson," and he said, "Oh, is he still alive?" And I said, "No, I don't think so. Apparently, you're the only one left from that band who's still alive." Because they were talking, I was like, we talked about all the other names, and what I understood was that everybody was gone except my dad. So I get a call from my dad today, and he says, "Guess who called me?" And now when my mother says that, it's said with a different tone. It's "Guess who called me?" And then I'm usually in trouble because I showed my belly button online, or made put a joke on about whatever, or like I swore in a song or whatever. And it's usually someone ratting on me, which I'm hoping that'll end one of these days. But I'm at least gonna have juicy stories for people to bring back to her. And my mom has a great sense of humor. She really does.
Yeah.
But she has to make the call when she gets she's like the ombudsman.
Passing along the news. Yeah.
But anyway, so my dad called, and for him to say, "Guess who called me?" was like, oh boy. Ooh. It really could be anyone. Based on the weekend we had, could be anything really. And he said, Tom Moret.
Who you assumed was dead.
I thought was dead. And so my first reaction was, you sure it was really him? Anyway, it was truly the happiest I've ever heard my dad. He said
pretty excited.
They talked for hours. They caught up. He said, I was remembering stuff that I can't believe the details I was remembering from 50 years ago. They haven't talked in 50 years. And they were talking about stuff that happened in the band. And it's so funny because he was telling me stories that I'm hearing from our friends right now that are happening with bands, like the
stuff,
drama and the fighting and the girls and all the stuff that happens. And it's like, man, nothing changed. Dad goes, it was probably worse now. Like, no, it's exactly the same stuff that goes on. It was amazing. But he connected with They're almost 80 years old.
Yeah.
Seriously, they're almost 80, and he looked him like old-timey, looked up my dad and called him up and said, are you...
I was really interested in how Tom found your dad's information. Like, how did he get his number? How did he look him up?
I don't know. Where do you look up all your information?
But I think
who's the other woman in our life?
I think he went to the Yellow Pages. I think he went, not the Yellow Pages, but I think he went to the phone book.
I mean, that's possible.
Yeah.
Dad's in the phone book.
Yeah. They've had the same number long enough that it's probably still in the phone book.
He probably does have a phone book.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's
I just assumed it was Google. That's a really good point. But anyway, Little Miracles. It's really funny that that I'm sharing a stage with Joey Moret, and my dad shared a stage when I was an infant, before little Joey was ever born, because he's the grandson of Tom Moret.
Yeah, long before.
And it was pretty wild.
They were teenagers.
So I'm really glad Tom looked him up. I've heard those names. Dad has told us those band stories my whole life. It's always been, yes, Dad, I know, and you. But what's that word? Reanimated my dad. He was it was the happiest I've ever heard him. He was so thrilled to talk to somebody that he used to play in a band with, and so it's really nice. So my dad's talking about recording some songs that he wrote, and I think I might get Dad down for a songwriter circle.
That'd be fun.
It's pretty fun, yeah. Because it's really nice to see people excited. It doesn't matter how old they are or what, And it's funny to hear the stories too, like when people have kind of like had a second lease on life, and maybe it didn't work out the first time around with music or with a film or with a book or whatever. And it's really, I like those stories of like, you know what, we did it anyway.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So yeah. So is that my Are You Mad at Me story? I don't know. That was a couple wrapped into one. All right. So what's new with you? How's your week been since the last podcast?
Pretty good. This was kind of a funny thing. This is completely unrelated to anything we've been talking about.
All right, so let me do
this
a time
is a new topic,
mark.
yes.
Yeah. How far in are we? I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
What day is it? On Tuesday.
22 minutes.
On Tuesday, we talked about...
We'll see how different the editing process is, because it says 22 minutes right now. So.
Sure, okay.
So a week or two ago, Henry's 14, he decided he wanted a punching bag. Mm. He said, not necessarily just for working out, but he said he felt like punching something, I guess. So when he was little, like, we just go and get like one of those inflatable,
roly-poly clowns. Yeah.
But I figured, like, because we used to have a punching bag in the basement years ago, and it was a great workout. So I was like, yes, get him a punching bag, because he's big enough to do this stuff. And so we got to looking online, and apparently, if you just go to Amazon, you can buy a punching bag that's unfilled. So then you got to figure out how to fill it with like stuff that's heavy but soft, right? Like some people were putting like a bunch of pads in, but they put weights down in the middle so that it would be heavy, but then it's padded on the side. It's like a whole thing. So it's like,
I hate this already.
So I went to
You didn't order one of those, right?
So we didn't order one of those. So we went to Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. I figured somebody local's got a heavy bag that they don't want anymore. So there's a bunch on there, and they're like, $150, $180, and it was all kind of like, we get a heavy bag, we don't have a car. Usually when we get something on Marketplace, we'll go down to the mall, we'll meet somebody, we'll carry something home, like if it's a guitar pedal or a video game or something. And so I was going around on Marketplace trying to do my normal like not bargaining, but trying to get a good deal from people. And
what's it called?
Haggling, yeah. And at the same time being like, can you also bring it to my house, because it's heavy and I don't want to walk it home from the mall. So anyway, we went back and forth with a couple people, and a couple people were like, yeah, I guess I can bring it. I mean, I guess I can try. Like, it's going to be a week. It was like people just,
Were they coming on a horse?
Like, it was probably people that don't live in town, and they're not, or they just don't want to load up they want somebody to come to their house and get it and take it away, basically,
Yeah.
That's the most work they wanted to put into it. Mm. So anyway.
There's a service for that. It's called the trash.
Found this.
City dump.
So I found this I found a punching bag on Marketplace a couple days ago. It was $50. It was the cheapest one I'd found. Like, and it was nice and good shape, all this stuff.
With stuffing.
Came with some gloves, filled with
stuffing.
Already been used, so it's
Should
fine.
we check and see what's in it?
Yeah. So I got in touch with the guy and I said, hey, is this available? Also, can you bring it to my house? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. So super cool about it. We went back and forth a couple of days because it wasn't available, and then I wasn't available. And then anyway, so that happened today. The guy came over to our house, brought a punching bag, and even to the point of I paid him, he gave me the punching bag, I took it inside, and when I right before I came inside, I said, "Oh, wasn't there gloves in the boxing gloves in the ad? Or didn't you?" And he was like, "Oh, I forgot them. Give me 15 minutes. I'll run home and bring him back." Like he went back to his house, got the thing that he forgot, and brought it back. It was like it meant to be. And in our basement, there's a bracket hanging on the ceiling that's already attached to the rafters because somebody that lived here before us had a punching bag.
Wow.
And so all I had to do was connect to that, and it was like it was meant to be. Like
it's a Christmas miracle.
Henry came down here today, and he was pretty excited. Put on the gloves. I found like a cardio punching bag video for him on YouTube. It was like 10-minute workout. And like 5 minutes later, he came upstairs like
exhausted,
just like so out of breath and tired. He was like, I did as much as I could. It's like, all right, so it's another thing we can do to get through the winter without, because it's like,
it's so cold.
It gets colder and colder all the time, and it's like harder to get out and walk. Like we're relying more on Ubers than we have been because it's just so friggin' cold.
And we were prepared this year, really prepared with like lots of good gear.
We got tons of clothes,
gloves, hats, mitts, boots, jackets, all of it. Like,
but you get out
really
there walking, and the wind on the one part of your face is exposed.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Anything that's exposed has been extra cold. There's a polar vortex. I mean, I know there's other stuff. I know there's bigger things going on in the world. I just had a flash of like, oh, well, what about? It doesn't make us any warmer when we're out walking. I know people got stuff going on, and I'm sorry for that trouble that they're having, whatever it is. But anyway, I'm glad that guy was nice to you. You deserve it.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was.
That's refreshing.
Sometimes on Marketplace, it's like people are kind of a pain, but. Yeah, it was nice.
It was really good.
That's the lamest story that I could possibly have for what happened to me in the past few days.
I think that's a good story.
We had some work this week too. We had some video editing work and some
how's school?
Some comedy stuff. School's good too. We got this is the worst semester. Like
the last one.
No, not necessarily the last one. Just the winter semester is like.
And you're short.
It's hard to.
Right.
Yeah,
you're short.
This is the last
definitely
semester.
drags stuff out. It's like those weeks that you have, like a Monday's a holiday, and it's 4 days. So I was like, oh, it's going to go super fast, but it actually is the longest.
Yeah,
the longest weeks of all. So anyway, you're almost.
We
there,
always
though.
found that with moving too. Like, we'd get the whole house packed up and get a whole moving truck packed up full of stuff, and then you come back in the house and there's like little piles of, toys and pillows and just little stuff, and it's like maybe 4 or 5 boxes worth of stuff, and it's like that's the worst. Stuff you've already moved couches and beds and
your resources are tapped.
Yeah,
you have no decision making skills
tiny.
left.
It's just a tiny little pile of stuff, and it's like no, I'm just too tired
to make the decision to throw it away.
Yeah, throw it
stuff
away.
That you might want or whatever. And
so that's when you end up with a big cardboard box full of junk that's just sitting in your house for 6 months after you move.
Yeah, and then the next time you move, it's still there, and then you have 2 boxes for the next one.
You have another box of junk.
I think we're settled here now. We've been here about 6 years.
Yeah.
So I think we're pretty settled.
I think this might be the longest we've lived anywhere.
I think we're unpacked now.
We're unpacked, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's time to go. Time to take a trip now. Time to go in an RV.
Time to move.
No, just a trip. I think a trip would be nice to get around the island a little bit and see some stuff. And anyway, we did have one fun thing though. There was lots of fun things. We've had a fun week.
Oh, we got fun things.
So someone that I love has been listening to the podcast and shared it with his wife.
Yeah.
And so I got a text a couple of days ago, and it was like, I'm listening to this with Paul, and we're enjoying it. And
we've talked about Paul before.
We've talked about
podcast.
Paul. Paul runs the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym out in Grand Falls, Windsor, and he's amazing. Like, he is so good and so passionate.
You've known him since you went to CNA for the first time.
Like, I can actually say he's a friend from college. Like, I've heard people say that, but he's like legit a friend from college, and I just love him so much. And so he shared the podcast with his wife, and she said, yeah, we heard you talking about Paul, and she said, you described him so well, like, we're really enjoying it. And then she sent another message, and she said, by the way, died laughing at you saying my father got chains. She said that should be a t-shirt. So dangerous territory, suggesting something to Vickie and Josh.
Somebody telling us that something would be a good t-shirt
planting the seed.
Means there's going to be a t-shirt in your hands in a few minutes.
So I'm screenshotting that, sending it to Josh. He's literally on a bus on the way home from classes, and I said, hey, is there any way you could design a t-shirt
my father got chains
with my father got chains on it? And so Josh came home, and being the creative genius that he is, had a mock-up within half an hour of arriving home. And so printed it off, and I got back in touch with Sarah and said, hey, We got some shirts here if you want to get some shirts. We had the best visit. It's always like that with Paul. I feel bad for Sarah and Josh because they were like, what are these people?
They dropped in for a few minutes because they were going on vacation. So they were like, had to get home and get ready to go the next morning early and stuff. They came in for a few minutes.
They were on their way to the airport.
Yeah, early in the morning. It was like an early,
was it?
super early flight. Yeah. So, but it was like we got a few minutes. We're going to come in and chat, and they were here for like 2 hours.
It was awesome. It flew, and like Paul and I did the marketing program at CNA. So, I think I've talked about this before. The first year, everybody's in the same group. So it's human resources, accounting, and marketing people all in the same. And it was a pretty good mix of people, but you're kind of a little shy, and you're getting to know each other. And there's some parties, and they're pretty fun. But when you separate into the 3 groups, oh my God, what a blast we had. It was, everybody had ADHD, and I'm sorry if you're offended by, if you were in that class and you're like, wait, I've never told anybody. We all, seriously.
Everybody knew.
It was like a zoo walking into those classrooms, like the poor teachers. And of course they were the same people with that brain, with that marketing brain where they're like loving commercials and they love, having information coming at them like that to interpret and creative ideas and stuff. It was just, so Paul and I were just like a couple of firecrackers just going, oh, we should do this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And Josh and Sarah, of course, are also super creative and super smart. And so it wasn't like, you guys weren't sitting there like accountants, but I think you were a little bit like, what is going on with these people? But anyway, it was great. It was so great. And there was like a billion ideas. And I was like, we're going to do all these things. And anyway, it was really great to see them. And I'm really glad that they were enjoying the podcast. And again, it is pretty dangerous to say that should be a T-shirt because it'll be a T-shirt in your hands.
And we also put a picture of the shirt that we made.
Oh, yeah.
On our Facebook and Instagram pages. So if you follow along on Facebook and Instagram, you can see the shirt that we made for our friends.
Yeah, we can. That's a design that you have now. You should put that on like Etsy or something.
Yeah, we can make it happen.
I don't know if anybody outside of the community I grew up in would appreciate that phrase.
It would be. We would have to add our podcast logo to it, so it would be just for fans of the podcast.
I wonder, does anybody else ever say that? That's pretty funny.
That's a good question.
It was a blast.
People from Mundy Pond, people from where you grew up.
There's a few places I think that probably use that same phrase. So there's a few communities in Newfoundland that would at least recognize it. But anyway, let us know if you're listening and you grew up in a community where people where small children would say to each other in a fight, "My father got chains." I should have said that on Friday night. That would have eliminated the problem.
Shut everything down.
Someone would have went, "Oh, I had no idea," and left me alone. Anyway, moving right along. Oh, I did keep a promise.
Okay.
I did say that once February started, I was going to start a new book.
Right.
And I did. Today. It was a couple of days into February. But someone got me a laptop.
You got a new used laptop?
Yep. New to me.
New to you.
And there's nothing on it except Word. That's it. I'm not putting any, I'm not even, I could get on the internet if I wanted to, but I'm not putting anything else on there.
All I'm putting on there is Word and Facebook. And that's all. Nothing else. Not just TikTok. Word and Facebook and Instagram. And then Fortnite. And that's all I'm putting on there is just Word, Instagram, Facebook, Fortnite, and Candy Crush. What else do you put on computers? I don't know.
Tetris and all my taxes.
So we went to Walmart looking for just a super cheap writing computer, and there were a few options that were, I think we might have already talked about this on the podcast, but there were a few options that were $250, $300, which is it's a cheap computer, but it's still these aren't great. These aren't great for $300. Yeah. And then you go on Facebook Marketplace, and we found something that was you
get something that'll launch a space shuttle.
Double the space, double the RAM, and it's half the price.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And it was another super cool guy that brought it to us and brought it to the house and gave it to me at the front porch. we were gonna go meet him somewhere.
It's
but he just came to the house.
a tough time of year to be making transactions, I gotta say.
Hey, I remember.
But people are being super cooperative. We are very. We're attracting a whole new genre of people, I think, into our lives. The podcast is certainly helping because this kind of grounds me each week, and I enjoy it, and we're getting such great feedback, and we're just loving it. So I think that kind of sets the tone for the week, and then so for us, this happens early in the week, and by the time you guys hear it, it's later. But I think it's really places we've been going. Service has been great. The drivers have been great. Everything has been going so smooth, and I say that even though I shared that story off the top, but I think in the bigger picture. Just keeping it between the lines, keeping what do you say? What would Beth Dutton say? She'd say, "Shut up, buddy." God, I love that show.
We did learn something funny the other night when there was a slight bar kerfuffle that we had just ordered an Uber. I had literally just confirmed an order for an Uber, and crazy stuff happened at the bar. We needed a few minutes. We needed to get everything settled down and make sure we were safe. And the Uber was
didn't
there.
want to leave while the person was outside the bar.
The Uber was outside, and it was like
so was that person.
And I was like, do we just go on out and get in the car, but so it turns out if you cancel an Uber, you got to pay.
There's
like,
a cancellation
not the whole
fee.
thing. It's just it says basically, you have to pay a cancellation fee to pay for so and so's time for coming to. He drove all this way.
Yeah.
But anyway, it wasn't a big deal. It was less than.
Well, good to know.
Good to know.
And so I feel like Jesus just laid this on my heart, considering I'm sitting in a room here that's next to the one with the punching bag, and our kids are, learning to punch and things like that. The self-defense part of, I was a little bit embarrassed after I got home, after the adrenaline had kind of, adrenaline does stuff to your body that, and your memory formation and all that stuff. And so after it settled down, because at first I didn't remember any of it, but after my body started to calm down, I remembered how things had gone, and I was embarrassed that I didn't actually go into like the techniques that I learned from self-defense. But first of all, don't judge yourself after something like that. That's another piece of advice. I mean, surviving is the key. But there was things that happened that create a witness-rich environment. Don't go to a second location. Don't let things happen. Sorry, that's the wrong language. Stay where people can see you if you possibly can. And it really made a big difference that people saw what was happening and jumped to help us, so that there was not a bad outcome. It was resolved right there in the moment. Yeah. But like being aware of your surroundings, and like I didn't have to use the techniques that I know, because I've anyway, I don't want to. I'm trying to avoid getting into details with it, because it was an unpleasant evening, and I didn't want to revisit it. But keeping those things in mind, like there's a whole thing going on here in St. John's right now where people are getting picked up in fake Ubers, which, I mean, I've only heard a couple of stories around the globe, really, from people who have traveled and had problems with Ubers. But apparently there's been a few people who are going downtown saying they're Uber drivers, and people are getting in the cars completely intoxicated and not aware of what's going on. And I don't know I don't know what the outcomes are, but apparently that's been kind of a thing.
I've been having fun verifying the driver's name when we get up to the car. Like, are you so-and-so? And usually they'll say, yeah, are you Josh? And it's like, yep, all right, come on. Like, very like a two-way verification of, I know you because you're on the app and you've been approved by this company, and he knows me because I'm on his app. And
I love that people have been following our journey on Uber. Like that, I'm still a massive fan of Uber, and like it'll say when it's dropping off Josh and whatever, and like the kids love it. It's super. It is very. I feel like it's very, very safe, and those things are like being aware of yours. Because I don't want to. At my age, I feel like, I mean, maybe we're a little bit old to be going downtown. It's kind of, I had all those thoughts, and it was like, wait a minute, this is like we go see our friends play. And
we're musicians, and our friends are musicians, and we play downtown, and we do events, and it's okay.
It's okay to be out of the house and to not, I mean, I know it'd be pretty easy to just lock yourself in and say, that's it, the world is too scary. But I think being aware, and there was some. There was awareness of what was going on around us, and like noticing like, okay, this is escalating and this is getting a little bit out of hand. And, I didn't get into, it didn't become a physical, I didn't have to punch anybody.
That's true. Yeah.
Which was, that's kind of ideally, if you can not resolve, but if you can neutralize what's going on. And I had a lot of help. I wasn't alone in an alley or anything like that. There was a few people that jumped in, but anyway, it was, self-defense. So I've been teaching self-defense for, I guess it'd be 11, 12 years or something. I was pregnant with Henry when I did my certification, and I had taken the course myself a few times. But again, I'm going to go back to Paul. Paul teaches Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and if we lived in Grand Falls, I would be in his class tomorrow evening. Like, no question. There's no, like, what they teach, not just with the techniques, but the confidence building, because that's half of it. Like, people, it really makes a big difference when someone is confident, and if a bully is looking for somebody to pick on, they'll pick somebody that isn't you, hopefully.
Yeah.
But anyway, I highly recommend self-defense courses, but check into them because some of them are like knuckle dragging macho stuff. So I taught a class that was specifically for women, and so it was very specific, and it wasn't like a sparring class. It was really for survival. And I guess that's the blame that women put on themselves after something like that happens, that it's like, oh, I could have done this different, or somehow I'm responsible for this other person's behavior. But it's important to note that survival is the key. And if you got out, that's all that matters. That really is all that matters. And keep yourself safe. And, do what when you feel that little tingle up the back of your neck that something's off, you should trust it. Yeah. That's a big one. Anyway, so that's our little... But anyway, I'm going to bring it on to... we don't really have a theme or a topic with this podcast, so I feel like, we shouldn't talk about... We got to talk about that thing. We talk about us. This is what goes on in our lives week to week. So
that's what we've been doing, what we've been up to.
Yeah, but I did start the new book. Thank you for the laptop. I'm very happy. And I really love gifts from you that are like little tokens of... I believe in what you're doing, or I believe in what you're able to do.
Yeah.
And so sitting staring at that laptop for the last couple of weeks was like...
No, you got to do the thing.
Well, I mean, it's a vote of confidence, obviously. But it was like, you know what? If he's committed, then I guess I can sit down and open up the laptop. So I did earlier this week. I did install Word, and I did set up the thing and put all the settings on it that I wanted.
Getting a new device takes a while to get it ready too.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I did start the files, and I got the template downloaded from KDP to start a new book. And so the stuff was in place. I put some files on there to name the first few chapters, and so I sat down tonight. You came down and messed around with the punching bag for a little while.
I did 10 minutes with the punching bag and was wore
Well, you
out.
said you were going to be gone 20, to be fair. So I thought I had 20 minutes.
I gave myself 20 minutes because I figured it would take me time to find a video that worked for me. Make some space.
Wrap your wrists and all that.
Get a corner team with.
Did you stretch?
No, I forgot to stretch.
All right.
I think stretching is part of it. I stretched while I was doing it. No.
Yeah.
We haven't.
It's going to take a little while because we're in winter.
We're in winter mode, yeah.
But it was great. So I got the first chapter. I got 551 words written, and I'm impressed with that because,
Yeah.
I said I wanted to do that in February, and if I were to write every day for 20, 30 minutes, by the end of the month, I mean, what's that?
That's a lot of words.
Well,
I'm excited to read it because I heard what you wrote today, and it's great.
Well, thank you.
So I'm excited.
I'm excited about it, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, I found this concept of mini books, which you don't have to write a 200-page book every single time. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm enjoying it so far, and not starting it like January 1st was super helpful because January is a hard month.
Yeah.
It's the shortest daylight.
Yeah, that's brutal.
There's hardly any daylight hours, and it goes by so fast. And it's not really the time, but now the days are getting a little bit longer, and I can see spring on the horizon. It's really nice.
We've had a very light winter, and it's really funny. Some people on Reddit past couple of days were talking about how little snow we've had this year, and how some people were saying like it's been really awesome. Like I'm really glad. The point of the thread was people were saying I'm looking forward to a snow day. Because they wanted to be snowed out so they didn't have to go to work and take the day off or whatever. Mm. And some people were saying, pretty much every place is working from home if that's an option. Like if you can't go in, you can just work from home. So you got to shovel the driveway and you still got to work. But then one guy was on there and he was saying, he actually used the words, "This has been the hardest winter I can remember." Because his profession, he's a snowplow driver.
Wow.
So it's like, hard for you means you're not making any money because you're not working. And somebody on Instagram today from down the road posted a video of a plow going down the road and just scraping the pavement. And it's like, well, they're just, maybe he was spreading salt, but
they do need salt because it has been icy.
He had the blade down, and it was like, this is just the city paying their employees. Like they're just getting them out there to make some money. Because really, there hasn't been. Yeah. We've gotten a couple inches here and there, but that's been it.
Or I mean, we definitely have needed salt because it has been
the ice.
Been a few icy days.
For sure.
Yeah, there's been some brutal cold days.
Brittle
so
too.
a little bit of moisture, and the roads are real slick and stuff. So it's been, but I mean, it's been interesting because it's new for us. Normally we'd be shoveling out the car and trying to get around and navigate that stuff. But man, having stuff delivered to the house, I've
been going out and making a little path down the driveway because our car is still in the driveway, even though it's broken down. It's got 2 flat tires because we had slow leaks, and I just haven't. Anyway,
classy.
So at
least
us,
you haven't taken it apart, and you don't have it up on blocks.
Yeah. So for us going places and for people to delivering food and stuff to us, I've just been making a little, 3-foot path. So the other day there was us, we got a couple inches, 2 or 3 inches overnight, and I didn't hear anything, but I went out the next morning and the whole driveway around the car was somebody had taken a snowblower to it. One of our neighbors just came over and cleared our driveway for us. Like,
we're very lucky.
We're not driving; the car doesn't move, but we really appreciate the help.
Well, we still have to walk out the driveway.
We still got to,
yeah, we're still using the area around the car.
Yeah.
We should put stuff under the car, like that's stuff that we don't want snow to get on during the winter. That's a good storage
like the dogs.
Spot. We should advertise that we've got like a 6-inch space under the
storage
car.
Space.
Storage space. If anybody wants to put like,
it's weather controlled.
I don't know. I don't know what you'd put under there, pallets or something. I don't know. Anyway,
it's
been pretty
paperwork.
good. I'm pretty happy with the overall. I think it's been not a bad winter so far. Yeah, it's gone by pretty fast, and we're keeping busy. And of course, the open mics are really, really great.
And the spring and the summer and the fall in Newfoundland are really beautiful. Yeah,
I like it. I would like to go away for winters. I would prefer to not be here in this cold because it is nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And I know winters are pretty much the same. They're, the daylight time and all that stuff is the same in a lot of places that we would be. But it'd be nice. I remember one year we were in North Carolina for Christmas and we were putting out Christmas decorations in T-shirts.
Yeah. I used to live in the mountains in Boone in high school in North Carolina. And I used to ski a lot for a couple of years that I was there. And just because kind of everybody did. And you get some secondhand skis and you just go to the ski mountain and pay $8 for the lift ticket or whatever. But anyway, late in the season when it was like April, I'd go in like bib overalls and a T-shirt. I'd just ski in a T-shirt, maybe a hat, keep my ears warm.
So you can ski?
I was not good at skiing, but I thought it was a lot of fun, and I would go really fast, straight down the mountain. So like I actually got pulled aside by ski patrol one time, and it feels like it was like an old grizzled like mountain ski patrol guy, but it was probably 25.
Probably someone the age you are right now.
Yeah. And he was like literally drawing with his ski pole in the snow, like this is the sort of path that you need to be taking down the mountain, and this is what you're doing, and just went straight down. Like I would just literally just put my feet together, bend over, and just go as fast as I could down the mountain.
And how would you stop?
Well, I could stop. I was good at stopping.
Oh.
And I knew how to do the back and forth kind of swishy kind of sort of thing, but
you wanted to go
I wasn't interested in going slower. I wanted to go faster. And like some of the harder, steeper hills had people would like put like barrels down under the snow and build little jumps and stuff. And I would just crazy dangerous, not being safe for myself or for the people around me. But I
wish I could say that I wouldn't have found that attractive when I was a teenager, but man, you would have been my type.
I went out actually my second year.
I mean, you're my type now, obviously, but I think I would have liked you as a teenager too.
My second year living there, I went out for ski patrol, like they were hiring, and I was like, I'm there all the time. I'm there like every weekend. I could do this. I could be ski patrol and get make a little bit of money. I did not make, because I'm pretty sure I just would zip straight down. I was like, look how fast I am, and then. They were like, yeah, no, that's not safe. You can't work here. You can't be the safety person here.
What?
You're going to kill somebody.
What help could you be on the way down the hill if you were zooming past the age to
I don't think I actually understood what ski patrol did. I think I just wanted, like, I could get paid to be at the...
Well, you could have scraped maps in the snow to tell young whippersnappers.
Yeah, look, this is what you should do. It's not what I do, but you should do it.
You could have shown them what not to do. You could be like Donnie Don't. Don't do what Donnie Don't does.
Goofus and Gallant. Did you ever?
That's the Highlights for Children. Did you have that? You didn't have that magazine in the U.S., did you?
That's an American magazine.
Man. So I'm hoping that somebody who's like an economist or some sort of tax person or whatever, like people that follow money, could tell us what we should expect now from this big trade thing that's going on between Canada and the U.S. Because I feel like there might be, I don't know, there might be an upside to it. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what to expect with this thing going on.
It's interesting to be on the other side and watching it.
Well, I mean, it seems like we're in it somehow.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Even being in Canada, we're in Newfoundland. Like we're so far away from Canada.
Yeah. But there's always these little displays though of protest, and it's like, boys, we're in Newfoundland. Nobody cares what you do here. Isn't that demoralizing?
Nobody's watching.
But it's like, oh, the liquor corporation took American booze off the shelves. Like, well, wow. Oh, that's straight to the heart. It's not. Nothing has affected us yet. I'll keep you posted. Like Uber is fine, Instacart is fine. I don't know what groceries, like everything is like, oh, I'm not buying this brand anymore. And it's like, boys, that's made it down on Ropebuck Lane in Browning Harvey. Like, that's not Frito-Lay. That's not going to hurt anybody. Like, I truly have no idea what the benefit will be to, or the downfall. I have no idea what it's going to mean for prices or for availability. I've been noticing since the pandemic that like the shelves will be bare of things. And for no explanation, no like, oh, there's been no weather interruptions, nothing like that. But it's been weird since the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what's going to happen. I know we've gotten a few apology emails from our American friends on behalf of their country, but we're Americans too, so it's But I'm not. I feel like when we're ready to go, we're going to travel down through there. Like, I'm not afraid of anything. I don't feel like anything is that drastically different.
Yeah, that's not like the Civil War hasn't started yet.
Well, people are still people. I'm not concerned about traveling down. Yeah,
that's the thing. That's the thing that I'm finding funny about the boycotts and all that stuff. It's like, I get that people are being crazy in positions of power in politics, but like, there's a lot of people that work at Frito-Lay in Michigan or whatever. It's like, are we boycotting them because they're the ones that need the money? Like,
well, there's a lot of American companies in Newfoundland who are manufacturing things and across Canada, and it's made, but it's like, well, that's made in where, like, I don't know one single economist or one person who can actually, and if you are a person that's listening to this podcast and can explain it in real person, terms we could understand.
Talk to me like a 5-year-old.
Talk to me like I'm 5 years old, because I don't understand I don't know what the repercussions are going to be. I have no idea. But I feel like I go back to that line in the Avett Brothers song. Your life doesn't change by the man that's elected. Yeah. I believe that. Like, I can't imagine it's going to impact us in any great way. But I'm also wondering if there's opportunities that are, like, are we going to start buying more local stuff? Like, is there going to be more demand for local things? Like,
that's true.
I have books on Amazon, but they're published here in Canada, as far as I know. But Amazon is based in the U.S. So I have no idea. I really have no idea what to expect. So I'm not panicking. I have a lot of. I feel like there's a lot of benefit to change, and I think it's going to impact. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
We just went down a road. I just made her political.
It's not a political podcast.
Not at all. But we're in Newfoundland. We're so, like you said, so far removed from Canada.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the impact is going to be. I really have no idea. So.
Well, I just hope that all of our American friends and family are being safe and being nice to each other. And I think it's easy to fight, like, just based on social media and the news. And there's so much like negative, like, fighting. And
I think our friends and family are pretty safe because they're, generally speaking, very nice people and very kind. And it's never been we've never gathered around and said, it's never been political and it's never been religious. It's been really solid human beings, and that's why we like each other. So I think they're going to be fine. And, if there's anything we can, we'll just send love.
Yeah.
While we're in our little cubby.
Or roast chicken chips, because they don't have those in the U.S.
I heard something about coffee crisps, that they might be able to get coffee crisps somewhere, but I have no concept. Like, I look at the back of stuff sometimes and it's like, what do you mean it's made in whatever? But, and like, the list is kind of funny to watch the lists of, like, these crusaders, which I get a kick out of because you're just exhausting yourself. It's like watching somebody just punch themselves out, but it's like, I'm not buying any of this stuff. And it's like, boys, that's not the right list. So I have yet to see an accurate list of what would actually help.
One of the lists, it was like, there's like these things are made in the U.S., these things are made in Canada. And one of the things was toothpaste. And it was like Colgate and Crest or whatever made in the U.S. Why don't you try, one of the options was Tom's of Maine.
Tom's of Maine.
Like, Tom's of Maine is Canadian?
Read it slowly.
Yeah. Maine.
Yeah.
I think it was that it was produced in Canada, something like that.
I mean, this is it.
That's pretty funny.
I mean, we might get a good few lessons out of where things are made, and it might be like watching one great big episode of how it's made.
There's an upside. We can teach our kids about the economy and consumerism and capitalism. And
I'm not going to do that.
No.
Yeah. Because it will be over, like, I mean, unless, and again, I saw something about, like, this happened many years ago, just before the Great Depression. So it's like, ooh, wow, we're getting all kinds of stuff.
But that was great. Even the name of that, it was like,
yeah, it wasn't
I don't understand why people talk about it like it was bad. Like, it was the Great Depression.
It wasn't a pretty good depression. It was, so
this depression is great.
It had to be good for somebody. I don't know. I'm blissfully ignorant. I have no idea what most of that stuff means, and I don't know how it's going to impact us. I don't know if the prices are going to go up. I mean, how much higher can they get? Seriously, this whole thing this past few years has been like groceries are astronomically high, and prices from one place to the next are like just, it's insane. And apparently this is all over Canada and the US. So like, how much worse can it get price wise is my question. Let's keep an eye on it and see how things go. I mean, I got to tell you, if we got to start growing our own food, we are going to be hungry.
I do feel a bit like those old people when we were kids that were like, bread used to be a nickel when I was a kid. Like, we're doing that to our kids. Like,
yeah,
you use carnation milk in your tea, and it's like pretty much everywhere it's between $2 and $3 a can, and now it's like, this used to be 75 cents a can.
It was. That's a fact.
I know. I was there. It wasn't that long ago.
I know.
But it's like we're going to the store and telling they're ordering things online, and the boys are like, yeah, we know things used to be cheaper. We don't care. Just give me my Takis.
Well, we had an instructor, and this came up last week also. We had an instructor at CNA who was in marketing, and I remember everybody was all up in arms because of the price of gas. So this was going back, 2003, so more than 20 years ago. And people were all upset about the price of gas had gone up by 15 cents or something. And so everybody was like, oh my God, price of gas. And we had this instructor, Barry Mills, and he came in and he goes, what is the big deal? Milk is what? So let's say it was $2 a liter. It wasn't, but he was like, what's the big deal? It's just a liquid that you need to get around. And milk is however much per liter.
$3 or...
And it wasn't
whatever.
I know that makes absolutely no sense to reasonable people, but for someone in marketing, it's like, okay, yeah, you need milk to put in your cereal, and you need gas to put in your car, and it's all fuel, and you need it to get by, and it's going to be up by 15 cents. Like, how much is this really going to impact you? Like a whole...
And I'll tell you what, we've been drinking a lot of milk the past couple months, haven't spent $1 on gas.
Yes. And also, I always wonder about people that travel a long ways to save 15 cents on gas.
I saw that same conversation happening on Facebook. Like, we're on a Costco Facebook group, and the people were asking, like, why isn't gas very much cheaper at Costco than other places? Because usually, it would be like 5, 10, 15 cents a liter cheaper. But people were saying, like, even if you fill up a car or a truck, it's like you're saving $2
at most. And
$3.
How much did you burn?
And how much did you burn to get to go way out of your way to go up to
I just
Costco?
Feel like there's a cost for your mental health. Like the stress of thinking I have to go there to get the gas is like...
It depends on what you're stressing over.
I'll give you $3.
Maybe you're stressing over $3. Maybe you're stressing, you know what I mean? Maybe it's like, oh, I'm so glad I have this discount up at Costco.
Here's my theory. If it makes you feel good to drive to Costco, and I love Costco. Yeah. It's one of my favorite places. Maybe next to Michael's.
I can't imagine it being a feel-good place, but maybe it's somebody's feel-good place.
But if it feels good to save the $3, do it. That's my advice. But if you're stressing about it and it's like, oh my God, where am I going to save enough? Like $3 is not going to break you unless it's stressing you out. Because it's like stuff that you can eat this, like the same meal. I don't know, dietitians can fight me on this one, but if you're eating a meal and every single bite that you're putting in your mouth is like, oh, I'm so fat, I'm worthless, I'm so fat, it's going to go different in your body than if you're sitting there going, you know what, this is the best meal I can afford today, I'll eat something healthier tomorrow. Bodies can process a whole lot of junk, and they're, the long-term effects might be bad, but in the short term, beating yourself up while you're eating or while you're spending your money or while you're driving to Costco, if you're driving to Costco going, how am I going to pay the bills? Oh my God. Like, dude, spend the extra $3 for the peace of mind. Yeah. But if you're going, man, look at how I'm taking care of my family. This is awesome. I'm saving some money and I'm going to go buy a bigger pack of croissants.
Maybe you like to drive up to Costco in Mount Pearl because you like the view.
I love driving to Mount Pearl. I absolutely love going to Costco. The roundabouts don't scare me. I find it really funny to, they put up a Christmas tree a couple of years ago in the roundabout. It was hilarious.
We did see a guy, a very old guy in a very small pickup truck pull into the roundabout going the wrong way. And we were sitting waiting to get on, but he was driving past us in the wrong direction. It was like, oh, this is interesting to watch. And everybody just got out of his way.
I think we need to be very, very careful about what we laugh at. Because not that long ago, we got a ride home from somebody who drove into oncoming traffic on a highway with us in the car. We survived. It was fine. But I think, being in the car where that was happening, I was like, okay, this is
We should have walked.
We should have walked. Yeah. So
we were gonna walk, and somebody was like, "Come on, don't be so foolish. Get in the car."
Get
and
in
we're
the
like,
car.
"Oh, a ride's a good idea."
What could go wrong? Like everything could go wrong. So anyway,
terrible.
but it's just funny that it was nighttime. You know, I mean, that's not the excuse. But anyway, it's been like, I just feel like just roll with it. Just go with the flow, man. It's fine. Things have a way of working out. And I think I'm just trusting the universe a little bit more than I used to just, it'll work out for the best, you know.
Well, I tell you, stressing and driving yourself crazy isn't going to make it better.
I have something on that topic. My friend Denny said it to me the other day.
What's that?
I don't know where she heard it. It was a friend of hers, and it was a quote about anxiety. And this person had said, 90% of the things that I've worried about in my lifetime never happened. So worrying works.
Wow.
I mean,
all right.
It's like genius.
I guess it's working.
Oh, I just loved it. It was so funny.
You know, honestly, it works just as well as not worrying. And at least
zero-sum game.
You might live a little bit longer.
It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Whether you worry or not, the same stuff's going to happen. So you can either prepare for it or you can cry about it when it happens. But man, life is way too short to be worried about little things. And the fact that we're in the situation we're in right now, and we're still pretty positive, and you know, we still like each other.
Yeah,
we're healthy. Our kids are healthy. We have these beautiful dogs. We get this podcast, and I'm going to say how grateful I am to this podcast, to the listeners, because we're so connected on social media. Like if I post something on social media, I feel like everybody must know what's going on, and you know, we're connected, but we're not in any kind of real way. Like a like or a heart or even a comment on a Facebook picture is not the same as an actual conversation. And this podcast has opened us up to so many reconnections with people we love that we just haven't talked to in such a long time.
That's true.
But they're finding out what's going on in our lives. They're sharing what's going on in theirs. And it's like a real connection. And my vision for the podcast was to kind of open it up to the universe and say, okay, here's who we are, like, you know, and just see what comes into our orbit.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked by how many friends are listening to us
and
connect.
It's really nice.
It's been really, really nice. And I would have thought that we were connected already, but we're not. There's stuff that like we've gone off and had families, and like the day-to-day stuff, we don't know about each other anymore. We're not in communities. We're not in.
You know what's really funny is back in, I don't know if it was the same everywhere, but back in the early 2000s, there was this whole trend of like blogging, like not blogging like, I don't know. It was more like just what the young people did to keep in touch with their friends. Like everybody had a blog page, and we all just would write. I don't know. Maybe it was just my group of friends, or maybe I don't. But
I had a blog.
There was lots of blogging.
Maybe that was your influence, because when we first got together, I started a blog.
But as far as that, like all of my group of friends did that, and we all knew what was going on in each other's lives, and like
you read each other's blogs.
I lived a few hours away from, like when I was in the Air Force, I lived away from everybody that I hung out with, and I'd go see them on the weekends. But during the week, it was like, you know, that was the way we would keep up to date on what was going on in people's lives.
That's great.
And I don't know, it's kind of like this, because I have my friends that I haven't really talked to. Writing me and going, oh yeah, I remember that happened. Or
I had somebody comment on a picture that I posted the other day, and he said, "Are you the chick with the book?" I have no idea how he's on my friends list.
Okay.
I have no idea. But he had said, I'd love to come out to open mic one of these days. And I was like, man, that'd be so great. I have no idea who he is. And then he commented further down, and he goes, wait, are you the chick with the book? I mean, I'm a chick.
Of course.
With
a book.
What? I don't know how to respond to that. How he's on my social media page, I have no idea. He's on my friends list. I don't know how he got there.
That's funny.
So anyway, I don't know if I just maybe did like a batch accept or something, but I have no idea how he got in there. But I might have to do like a bit of a cleanup on my friends list, because I don't know how they're finding out about stuff. But again, you know, it's a good way to connect. And I love blogs, and I am. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on this new book. It's really not. It doesn't need to be the opus of my life. It's just the next
thing to do.
Yeah, I actually think I might start a second one, and like I think I might put a kid's book out for next Christmas. Is my because I think it might be fun to kind of mix it up. So instead of going to like social media in between writing, I think I might switch over to the kids' book every now and then and kind of get in a different frame of mind and then come back to the one that I'm writing.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. And
it's nice to have something to take breaks with.
It is. Yeah. It really helps with the taking frequent breaks and working really hard. I feel like that's been my work pattern. Is I'm not a 9 to 5 person. I'm not an 8 to 4 person. I'm not a show up early in the morning type of person. But you come find me around 7 p.m. and I'll work like a dog till 4 or 5 in the morning. But like, and I get a lot done. But I feel like schedules are like the worst possible thing for me. So,
yeah.
like, I mean, I send out messages like, hey, can you come headline for us or can you come be a featured performer? Those messages are... I actually got a warning on Instagram the other day. I was going to write somebody back, and it actually came back with a warning and said, you should wait till... Do you want to wait till the morning to schedule this instead of it's 2 a.m.? It actually said, it's 2:30 a.m. Do you want to send this or wait till tomorrow? Like, listen, Instagram, I don't need
Don't tell me what to do.
I don't need you but I did listen to it. I did. It was appropriate. Yeah. It was definitely more appropriate to send it at a regular time. And anyway... This is the world we live in, and it's interesting to navigate as an adult where it's like, someone in my older generation might have said, yeah, it might not be appropriate to message somebody at 2:30 in the morning.
If you had a mom there next to you.
Yeah. But for me, it was like, who cares? But I was like, yeah, maybe every now and then, maybe some of the old timer advice kind of comes in handy. But anyway,
I think we did another podcast.
I think it's been a good show and we showed up.
I think that's episode 11. It might be 12. I'm not sure. We'll update it.
So the chapters I have are, started talking, I don't know when we talked about the new book, and then we talked about the open mic at the 10-minute mark, and then haggling at 22 minutes, and then, so by my calculation, this
There's
podcast
only going to be 2 chapters.
It's 23 minutes long.
Well, we're at an hour and 6 minutes.
I'm sorry. I'm apologizing in advance. I forgot to talk about Nateland.
Nateland segment. We did watch the new, I don't know if it's new, but
it is brand new. It came out on Friday.
Aaron Weber's special on YouTube, and he was talking about having a new baby, but I think his baby's a few years old, so maybe they recorded
I think the baby is less than a year, because I'm following them on Instagram.
Oh.
And so the baby's less than a year, but he recorded it when his wife was still pregnant.
It was a half-hour special on YouTube.
It's called
Signature Dish.
Signature Dish. It's pretty good. And so Nateland produced it. And, I mean, this is what Nate Ragazzi is doing. I mean, I put his name on it because he's at the helm. So, I mean, I think he's got a pretty big say in what's going on.
Yeah.
But he's producing comedy specials. And he's producing, like, things at Zanies and different, he calls it, like, the Comedy Lab or something like that. But he's given other comics a platform. Like, and they're not all necessarily, like, just like him. There's a whole swath of people that he's supporting, and I just think that's fantastic. Like, yeah. And he put it on YouTube, so it's produced by Nateland, and they put it on YouTube, so it's a half-hour special literally anybody. And it was like 3 days in, 66,000 views.
Yeah.
So I mean, this, and I was talking to my dad earlier today about recording his songs that he wrote when he was, much younger than me. And he was talking about this experience he had years ago when he, had just started writing songs and kind of, got knocked down by the powers that be who, it's his story to tell, but like telling somebody like, Dad, things have changed. Like, we don't necessarily need a big TV station or a big radio station or a publisher to give us permission to create things. Like, with the internet the way it is, like, you can record a radio show or a podcast, you can publish your own books, you can make TV shows and post them online.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and unless you need, like, if you're of that school of thought that you need like $1 million budget to make a TV show, okay, that's a whole different beast. Like, but if you feel the need to actually just create something, and you got some friends that'll like write your script, and if you have friends that'll act in it, they don't need to be, you don't need to get Kevin Costner. I mean, that's on my bucket list, to get Kevin Costner in a film. Oh yeah, he's amazing. Have you seen Yellowstone or The Bodyguard? But like, as far as people talk about making movies with your phone, and like, you're not going to win an Academy Award with your phone, but can you write a script and act something out and do like a little skit or a little sketch or tell a story? Make your art. It doesn't need to be perfect. And if you wait for it to be perfect, it might not. I mean, what if it doesn't happen? Like, what if course, I'm watching Yellowstone, so there's a lot of death. But like, what if you die before it happens? Get it done. It doesn't need to be perfect. It feels so good to get something finished and put it out into the world and have one person say, that was great. Yeah. Or that was, I haven't had any negative feedback. I haven't had anybody come to me and say, you could have done better. People keep that, like they gossip in bathrooms in bars about how bad something is that I've done, but like they don't say it to my face because I don't know. It's worth it. And there's so many ways to reach people now. Like there are musicians who make their career on TikTok or on Instagram or on YouTube. And there are filmmakers who put indie films on YouTube. And like, you can still submit it to film festivals and you can do the award route and publish a book. Like, have a book with your name on it. Have a person read it over to make sure it's not a complete nightmare. But if you can talk, you can write. Yeah. There's a book out called If You Can Talk, You Can Write. That's a real thing. And there are like apps you can get on your phone that you can record. You can talk into your phone and it'll transcribe it for you. So you might need to change a couple of words, but like this idea of like, I'm not good at typing or I'm not good at composing sentences, but just put it in your own voice. Like it should sound like you and how you present yourself to the world. And so I know I've seen a couple of cases where editors would come in and look at people's books and change it to perfect grammar or change it to perfect whatever, punctuation and all this stuff. And it's like, that's not how that person talks. So I don't want to hear what your editor sounds like. I want to hear what you sound like. And it doesn't need to be perfect. It really doesn't. I mean, find a way to get your story out, whether it's, I've had so many people come to me and say they want to make a documentary about their life. And it's like, we can wait and try to get $1 million in funding, or I can bring a camera to your house and set it up and you can tell me just do the thing, how you made your millions of dollars when you couldn't read, or like, how somebody was learned how to knit. I realized the other day that my grandfather knit. Yeah. He showed my mom how to knit with a couple of paired off, we called them gads years ago, but he paired off a couple of gads to have like a sharp end stick. Like just a stick from the wood, so you take the limbs off it, and like just a little tiny thing the size, smaller than a pin. But he showed her how to knit on a couple of gads with the ends of them, sharpened down to make points. And I realized this morning I woke up and I had this like flash of my grandfather making fishing nets. He used to mend fishing nets, and like if you've ever missed a stitch in a sweater, that's a skill. And he knit. He taught my mom how to knit. She taught me how to knit. And now I'm on my 4th sweater. Like I've been using the same pattern. I'm on my 4th time through, and I think this time I might have it, but it's the 4th time through. And I realized today, like, oh my God, so all these moments that I'm sitting there knitting sweater after sweater, trying to get it right. And I realized like every stitch, like just like finding a dime on the ground in strange places, every stitch is my grandfather sitting there. Like I use it for stress management, like to calm anxiety, because when I'm concentrating on a pattern, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not stressing about stuff. And I feel like my grandfather's sitting there holding my hands while I'm knitting. And I didn't realize I couldn't have put a label or a name on it until this weekend after this craziness on Friday. Like I sat down and I was knitting and watching Yellowstone and just, comfort food and all that stuff. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I'm sitting here with my ancestors learning these things that they've been doing for years and years. And it was just a really nice moment to realize, nice. Like, when somebody will say, oh, didn't your mom used to do that? Like, yeah, my mom made homemade bread and she's still alive. She's doing great. But like she made things by hand, and she made a lot of clothes for us, and she remade things and made stuff over and went by, she'd go buy something that we already had and she'd make a new thing right out of scrap material. And it's funny to see that way of life is valuable. Like it's people knew what they were doing years ago when there was not all these things to be doing. Like they worked on those things that kept your hands busy, kept your mind busy. And it seems like it's creating a frequency around me that I like and that I enjoy. And it's bringing people into my life that I'm very happy to see. And people probably that I might have already known, they're coming back into my life. And I feel like that's where I want to be. This podcast is really helping me do that. Very nice. And so I'm encouraging people, write the book, record the podcast, make your art, write the song, pick up a guitar if you feel inclined. Play a couple of chords. You can play any song in the world with 3 chords. Any instruments you've got in the house, like that stuff is important, and there's a reason that these things survive. with all the technology we've got around us, it's important to pick up those guitars. And, those kids that came out and performed this week, I mean, that was brave.
Yeah.
That was really brave. And the families that came out to support them, I mean, that was just beautiful.
Yeah, it was great.
So it was a really great experience, and I'm glad we're doing that down at Broderick's. And shout out to Darcy Broderick from the pub, that thanks for giving me the space to do that. And
we'll be back on Sunday for the next Young Performers Open Mic.
We'll be back on Sunday, and we'll be back, of course, on the podcast. Thanks for listening to Are You Mad at Me? I'm Vickie Morgan.
And I'm Josh Morgan.
And we'll be back, and thanks so much for the comments and the shares and the likes and the subscribe, all the things that you've been doing to make this just feel so good. It's just so nice to be doing this and have people appreciate it and reach out and connect to us. So let us know what you're doing, and if we can help in any way whatsoever, drop by the website. It's selfpublishednl.com, and if you like what we're doing, give us a shout out, tell a friend about what we're doing, and it goes a long way. We certainly appreciate it, and we love what we're doing. So thanks for listening.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.